Good afternoon. Welcome to Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on our website, firedupwithbobirwin.com, and on the American Guns and Glory Network, also separately on YouTube and numerous other media. A new show is posted every Thursday at around 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Our audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out KELY1230.com for a station in your area. If you have questions or comments, you can send an email to bob@firedupmail.com. Again, that's bob@firedupmail.com. Or leave a message on my office recorder, which is 702-257-1060. That's 257-1060, area code 702. If you leave contact information, I'll respond by email, text, or telephone. If you don't leave a message, I can't call you back. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States, rarely truthfully covered by any mainstream media. We always present a few for our listeners' education. Most of the ones I use are good shootings. Some are questionable. Sometimes they're wrong. But they're all educational for those of you who carry a firearm for self-protection or keep one in your home to protect your family. Individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law, so the advice given here might not apply to listeners in different jurisdictions. Stories are often paraphrased for clarity by translation from police jargon, lawyer speak, or regional accents into more standard American English. The incidents are as reported, except I generally omit the names of the players involved. You know, they may be innocent or whatever. This first story comes from Alaska beyond. It comes from KYUK 640 Public Radio. A reporter named Greg Kim reported May 22nd, 2020, in Bethel, Yukon Territory, that back on May 16th, a subject broke into the Keweenaw Public Safety Building. According to state troopers, a 29-year-old man broke into the village public safety building, dressed for combat and wearing a bulletproof vest. He staged rifles inside and then set off the fire alarm. A village police officer was the first to respond to the alarm. When he arrived, he said the intruder pointed a rifle at him and pulled the trigger. It didn't go off. The rifle was one of theirs that was safely stored unloaded. The village officer ran away as the 29-year-old fired in his direction. He took cover behind a shipping container with another officer who was armed, who arrived as a backup. Ultimately, in this incident, no one was hurt thanks to an armed resident who got the 29-year-old to give up his weapon and lie on the ground. The difference between the officers and the resident was the resident had a gun. He declined to talk with KYUK about the incident. Administrative Chief Joseph said that out of the 10 village police officers in Keweenaw, I can't say that, 0 carry guns. He said that some have a baton and pepper spray, but others are armed only with handcuffs. Officers explained that the reason the village police officers don't carry firearms is lack of funding. The required training to carry firearms takes 2 to 3 months in the lower 48. Joseph said that the city can't afford to be sued for improper use of force, so the result is they get no training. People, he said, in most instances involving guns, people respond to being talked to. They show force in different ways, and sometimes a gun can escalate a confrontation. The administrator said that he would have been able to handle the situation. He said that he's been dealt with similar calls where people have threatened harm to themselves. As he has done in many situations, he would have asked the subject's question to calm him down. That's what I can do, or my officers or my fellow community members can do to help them feel better. That's the helping the subject feel better. Law enforcement is obviously different in the Yukon Territory. One thing, however, is consistent. In this incident, by simply displaying his firearm and a serious attitude, an armed citizen who happened to walk up on this was able to defuse the incident. We're going to break here for a brief word for some of our friends and associates. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. This next story comes from WABC TV 7, that's WABC TV 7, reports in Brooklyn, New York City, a 34-year-old grocery store worker was arrested as he shot and killed a man armed with a knife. Police say a 25-year-old male subject attempted to attack the worker with a knife during an argument. That's when the 34-year-old grocery worker pulled out a handgun. Police say he shot the younger man several times. The 25-year-old died from his wounds. The knife was found at the scene. It appears the 34-year-old worker was not yet licensed to have a handgun and has since now been arrested for that. Now, this same story is reported by CBS TV 2 in Brooklyn, New York, on the same day with a little more detail. They interviewed the family of the dead guy and got a little different perspective. They're saying a Brooklyn grocery store owner clerk is in custody after police say he shot a customer who was holding a knife. Police say that an argument led to the shooting, but the family of the victim says he was just there to pick up his keys. The father can't believe his 25-year-old son was shot dead. Police say it happened inside the Rose Family Grocery Store on Gilmore Avenue in East York, around 11 p.m. That's a part of Brooklyn. The father says his son had just come home from work and told him he forgot his keys at the corner store, so they went together back to pick them up. The father saying, my son goes back inside the store, I hear blam, then blam, 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 blam. The father said, hearing the gunshots, he sprinted to the door, but says someone held it shut. He's trying to push his way into the store, and they're holding the door shut. I pushed the door of the store, and the guy went back, and I said, where the hell is my son? I went around the register. When I look, the guy is standing right in front of my son, still pointing the gun at my son. My son's lying on the floor. He admits his son had been drinking before he went to the store. First responders arrived and rushed the 25-year-old to Brookdale Hospital, but he was pronounced dead. Police say they have video of the 25-year-old approaching the 34-year-old store clerk with a knife. The clerk told police that that's why he shot him. The father said the store clerk also pointed a gun at him, but he said he managed to take it away, managed to get away and find police. This is the father saying, he could have shot him in the leg. He could have pushed him. Why did he have to shoot him 5 times? That's murder. This is a comment from the deceased's aunt. The investigators say the gun used was not licensed and the clerk was taken into custody. Now, they basically agree on the 2 stories, but here we have 2 press reports from 2 different perspectives. It appears the clerk will be charged with firearm possession, But was this a murder when he's attacked by a violent drunk with a knife? If you are legally carrying and are you required to die instead of defending yourself? The point here, I'm in the midst of, I've told several people we're writing a new book. It's now under review by a Nevada judge for looking at my legal positions. But it lends to this story exactly. If you are breaking the law, say you are carrying a concealed weapon, a concealed gun without a valid permit, can you still defend your own life if you're attacked? That's the issue here. An excerpt from the book, this is just quoting about a half a chapter in the book. An interesting issue has popped up in more than a few shooting incidents. If you are breaking the law, are you allowed to shoot in self-defense? As an example, if a victim of a life-threatening attack is carrying an illegally concealed firearm, does he have the right to defend himself? Nevada regulations about having a government-issued concealed firearm permit are explicit. No permit, no concealed firearm, that's it. Let's say a resident who carries a gun at home forgot to leave it there when he left home to go somewhere. He has no criminal history. As he exits his car, wherever he's going, an enraged individual with a knife screams and runs toward him. Can he shoot in self-defense, or does the law require that he get stabbed because he's illegally carrying a firearm? Kind of what happened in this case. Add to the hypothetical. What if some individual is not looking where he's going, accidentally bumps into another at a shopping mall? Having a bad day and a short fuse, the person bumped responds with an insult about the bumper's family history. You get the picture. He also has this guy now also has a short fuse, reacts by charging the insulter with a crowbar. Must the bumped victim die because he started the argument? Or how about this? An intruder enters a home in the middle of the night. The resident has a firearm and orders him out at gunpoint. Police respond, the intruder is captured. Investigators find the resident used a stolen gun. It was a gift from his father, who got it from his uncle years ago. Turns out it was stolen 30 years ago in another state. This is kind of based on a real case. And who knew? It's been in the family for years. Is the resident charged with possession of a stolen firearm? Because he didn't know it was stolen. Incidents like this happen every day. An individual is legally using a firearm for self-defense, and some goofy circumstance that is not favorable to his actions pops up. What he should do is contact a gun-savvy criminal defense attorney before he starts explaining himself to the investigators. These happen all the time. Rarely is a self-defense case perfect. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. And I'm back. This second story comes to us from WFXG News Now. I neglected to put their station on there, where they broadcast, but you can find it if you need it. WFXG News Now reports May 21st, 2020, in Aiken County, Georgia. Deputies responded to 407 Cobblestone Road at 8:30 in the morning after a homeowner reported he had fired shots at 3 men attempting to break into his home. The homeowner told arriving deputies while he was walking his dog, he saw at least 2 men and 2 vehicles on his property. The owner said as he approached the suspects, he yelled and fired his weapon at them. Oops. The suspects then fled to their vehicles, one of which stalled on Cobblestone Road. Authorities say the Aiken Bloodhound tracking team and additional deputies responded to the area to search for the suspects. Just before 10 a.m., the tracking team was able to locate the wounded suspect in a swamp near Whispering Pines Road. He was taken to a local hospital for a gunshot wound to his left hand. He is currently being held in the Aiken County Detention Center where he will be charged with burglary in the second degree and grand larceny. Investigators have identified a 32-year-old and a 23-year-old as additional suspects involved in the incident and have obtained arrest warrants for them. Anyone with information on them is asked to contact the Aiken County Sheriff's Office at 803-648-6811. This is a interesting story that he fired at the suspects and they ran away. They generally do when you fire at them. They generally run away when you point a gun. When you fire at they more likely even than that run away. But it's interesting that in this case, he fired at them and it seems to be a property crime. We'll detail that more a little bit later, I think. This next story comes to us from Eureka, California. A police report on May 22nd this year in Eureka said local officers were dispatched at 2:40 a.m. to the 1300 block of West Avenue for a report of multiple suspects involved in some type of altercation. An occupant of a second residence confronted the suspects from his porch and advised them to leave the area. According to the EPD Captain Stevens, the subjects turned their attention to the second resident, became hostile toward him, and entered onto the second resident's property. The second resident now attempted to use pepper spray to deter the suspect without effect as he re-entered his home. Basically, you're understanding he's spraying his pepper spray because they're coming down his walkway. He backs into his home. The pepper spray had little effect. The EPD reported at least one subject entered the second resident's home and attempted to assault that resident. During the altercation inside the home, the resident fired multiple shots from a handgun, which he had retrieved from inside the house, striking the subject who was assaulting him. This subject was pronounced dead at the scene. A second subject, who was on the porch, was struck in the leg by gunfire and transported to the St. Joseph's Hospital. His injury is believed to be non-life-threatening. Officers were able to locate and detain everyone who was involved at the scene, including the shooter. According to EPD Chief Steve Watson, upon the initial review of the evidence at the scene, the shooting appears to have been done in self-defense. The individuals involved in this incident were unknown to one another, according to the police department. The completed report will be forwarded to the district attorney for review. Anyone with information about this case should contact Eureka PD Detective Sergeant Lyles at 707-441-4060. This is an interesting case. Inserting yourself into someone else's shouting match should be limited to calling the cops and taking video if that's possible without the involved parties being aware of it. Having no idea how or why the incident started, how can you tell who the good guy or who the bad guy is? Maybe there's no good guy. Just call the cops. There is little point in involving yourself in somebody else's problem. And what he did was he managed to get the bad guys to come after him instead. Call the cops. Keep it under observation. We're going to break now for a brief word from some of our friends and associates. We'll be right back. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man, Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. This last story comes from ABC TV 15 in Arizona. A reporter named Clayton Clapper reported May 15, 2020 in Scottsdale. A 41-year-old homeowner was reportedly doing work on his property at 10:45 in the evening near Pima and Happy Valley roads. The family dog alerted him to some type of disturbance. As the homeowner's wife and 3 children were home at the time, the father decided to search through his home. He entered a room and found that one of his children had been confronted by a naked man. The naked intruder was holding a large piece of wood and in a threatening manner, and then charged at the homeowner. The homeowner then pulled out a gun and shot the intruder twice, killing him. Earlier in the evening, around 9 p.m., officers had responded to a separate home nearby on an attempted home burglary. That description of that male intruder matched the description of the man shot and killed in this second incident. Police have identified an 18-year-old man who was shot and killed Wednesday night by the homeowner. No arrests have been made in this case as police continue their investigation. This is kind of a really bad case. First off, the 4-legged alarm system worked again. We certainly expect no charges to be filed against the homeowner and shooter here. Hopefully the children will get some kind of counseling and treatment to keep this incident from affecting their mental health. The true damage caused by this dead pervert may not be known for decades or more. Where will the children go now that they will feel safe? They find a naked guy with what appeared to be a part of a baseball bat in the bedroom, threatening the kids. It's going to take basically forever for the kids to feel safe again. This case will never end for the children in this home. I don't know how they will ever feel safe again. Anyway, that is our show. You can check out our recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen recent episodes. Please patronize those listed as our friends and supporters. We'll be back next Thursday on our website, firedupwithboberwin.com, on YouTube, and at the American Guns and Glory Network, and at various other websites, television, and radio stations. When watching any media, you can simply click on the word subscribe, and new shows will be sent to your phone or your computer automatically. Please forward these broadcasts to your friends. Our logo merchandise, hats, shirts, and books are now back available at Battlefield Vegas behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. They are back open again and running. Remember, the audio portion is broadcast on the Nevada Talk Network all across Nevada, Saturdays at noon. You can check out the stations again at KELY1230.com. Thank you for supporting Fired Up. We'll see you next week.